All right, folks, how you doing? So before we get into today's video, I notice I've lost a couple of subscribers over my sisterhood video. Oh, I didn't hurt your precious fifis, did I? Boo-hoo, that just breaks my heart. How will I ever cope? Oh, I'm so sorry I told the fucking truth and hurt your feelings. To me, that is like a badge of honor. The fact that I've lost subscribers shows that I'm telling the truth. Now, what's the subtitle for this channel? True human history, not convenient human history, not politically correct human history, not I've got to think of the poor children and all the fifis and think of everyone's precious feelings. Oh dear. Uh, The fact that I'm losing subscribers is not my weakness, it's yours. But anyway, let's get into today's video. Clan Fraser. So this is my ancestors, my father's mother. Her name was Mary Fraser. And this is the aspect of my lineage that I take the most pride in. So disclaimer, as always, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and, of course, research. Once again, this is a summary of when Scotland was Jewish. If you get the chance to, as always, in the description, there'll be links to where you can get the book. Definitely get it. It goes into a lot more detail than I get into. This is just the Reader's Digest summary version. And the purpose of this presentation is not to replace the book, but rather to promote the book. Make sure you get it, because this, to me, is one of the best books ever written. The Fraser DNA Project. So the book states that the Fraser results stem from the Fraser DNA project. A Fraser donor from the Inverness area showed no Franco-Iberian matches, but rather a Polish-Baltic connection, specifically Northern Poland with 8 out of 47 matches, 17% being the modal score. And cast further afield in Poland, that number goes up to 40%. Lithuania produced 4 matches, and all Baltic states came up in the results. The Frasers have Swedish, Polish, Russian, and Ukrainian cousins. The book surmises another Fraser DNA donor from Aberdeen yielded less Polish genetic matches, but rather 6 from Columbia, Freiburg, Liguria, Limburg, Lombardy, and London. A Fraser donor from Virginia had a match from the Pyrenees. That's between Spain and France. And Edinburgh Fraser donor got 53 matches over a wide distribution, with France 3 matches in Strasbourg and 1 in Paris. Northern Poland yielded 5 matches and many connections over Spain and Portugal, 2 from the Pyrenees and also 1 match from Virginia. Again, the book goes into a lot more detail on that. Crossing the Mountains. So the book now focuses on the anti-Jewish pogroms in the 14th and 15th centuries in Iberia, which resulted in many Jews crossing the mountains and finding refuge in the south of France. A Hastings Fraser donor is only 1 marker away from the Edinburgh Fraser donor and has an identical AMH to the Caldwell Stewart haplotype. The Frasers of Lovat. So the author suggests that the Edinburgh Fraser donor represents the main Fraser ancestral line, originally Franco-Iberian. The Inverness Fraser donor was predominantly of Polish lineage. They conclude that the 2 ancestral Fraser clans in Scotland stem from different origins, those from southern France who arrived in Scotland during the reign of King David I, and the Frasers of Lovat who arrived during King Robert the Bruce's reign. Strawberry growers. All my hope is in God. The Frasers acknowledge their medieval roots in France. Their septs include Sephardic Jewish surnames including Bissett, Frizzle, Frew, Olivier, Simon, and Simpson. Clan Fraser's website states that they originated in Anjou and Normandy, and their name came from strawberry growers, the Fraisiers. The Frasers show up first in the 12th century when a Simon Fraser gifted the church at Keith in East Lothian to Kelso Abbey's monks. Sir Simon Fraser. Now, I take such pride in this ancestor that if I were to ever have a son, his name would be Simon. I would actually name my son after this man. and this is just up the road from where I live as well. The Frasers moved to Tweedale and then spread to Stirling, Angus, Inverness, and Aberdeen. After 5 generations, Sir Simon Fraser was captured fighting for King Robert the Bruce and was brutally executed by King Edward I in 1306. Sir Alexander Fraser married King Robert the Bruce's widowed sister, Lady Mary. In fact, my son's name would be Simon Alexander. That would be his name after these two. Fraserburgh Castle. So Sir Alexander Fraser of Cowie gained the lands and castles of Falorth via marriage to Lady Joanna, the co-heiress of the Earl of Ross in the late 14th century. 8 generations down the line, another Sir Alexander Fraser, the 8th Laird or Lord of Falorth, founded Frasersburgh or Fraserburgh by royal charter in the late 16th century and built Fraserburgh Castle. You see a painting of it there. Lady Salton and Lord Simon Fraser. So again, Simon seems to be just a very, very common name amongst the Fraser lineage. That's why I would choose it, and that's, that would be the name that I would bestow upon my son for this reason, because it's a very common Fraser name. And even though Fraser is not actually my last name, because somebody asked me that the other day when I was talking about Clan Fraser, said, "Is Fraser your last name?" I said, "No," but that is the lineage that I take the most pride in. It is part of my blood. It's part of my genetic makeup as my ancestors. But anyway, the current chief of Clan Fraser is Marjorie Fraser, 20th Lady Salton, a member of the House of Lords, and the family seat is still at Fraserburgh in Aberdeenshire. The Frasers of Lovat stem from Sir Simon Fraser, who married Lady Margaret Sinclair, and Lovat Castle was built by John Bissett around the 12th century. The current chief of Clan Fraser of Lovat is also named Simon. See what I mean? Oh, and by the way, before anyone asks, I've never seen Outlander. I'm aware that it has something to do with Clan Fraser. This actually has nothing to do with Outlander. I've never seen an episode of Outlander. I've heard it mentioned, but that's about it. I've never watched any episodes of it. I know only of it vaguely, and I know it features Clan Fraser, but this has absolutely nothing to do with it because I have nothing to do with Outlander. I don't even really know what it is. All my knowledge and all my pride in Clan Fraser comes from when Scotland was Jewish. Nothing else, really. Lending libraries. The book shifts focus and states that while intellectuals like Adam Smith and David Hume held prominent positions of learning, townsfolk flocked to public lectures at universities, and Scotland's working class were avid readers. Bakers, blacksmiths, coopers, farmers, masons, tailors, and even servants all patronize lending libraries. Look into Alan Ramsay, whose statues on Princess Street in Edinburgh. We would do another presentation on him another time, but look into him. Very interesting man, because he's connected to like lending libraries. The book also states that in the late 18th century, out of a population of 1.5 million, almost 20,000 made a living writing and publishing, and 10,500 in teaching. I don't know what this has directly to do with Clan Fraser, but it's in the section in the book, so I put it in there. It's a relevant point anyway, it's relevant in and of itself, even though I guess there's no real direct correlation with the Frasers. I don't know why it's in the same section in the book, but I don't write the damn thing. I don't know. Don't ask me. So Walter Scott. So Scots had a passion for learning and were highly educated, with the authors stating that Scotland was, quote, uniquely prepared to inform the literary tastes of the masses. They then focus on Sir Walter Scott, who they say, quote, blended nostalgia with progressiveness, and whose family shared the same background as the Stuarts, Leslies, Frasers, and Campbells. So that concludes the presentation. A rather brief one this time. Yeah, Walter Scott, very interesting. Plan on doing presentations about him in the future. There's a whole section, in fact, in When Scotland Was Jewish about Walter Scott and Ivanhoe and all the rest of it. I haven't gotten into that yet, but something to bear in mind down the line. Walter Scott's a very interesting figure. He really is, once we start getting into his biography. Very interesting, man. Hope you got a lot out of this. Like I say, don't bring up Outlander in the fucking comment section. I haven't seen it, and I don't fucking plan to see it. This has nothing whatsoever to do with fucking Outlander. It's to do with when Scotland was Jewish, and everything that's in the presentation. So please just don't go there. All right. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.